Hi, my name's Lynda Gaiao and welcome to this week's Business Edition. This week we're looking at the 43 breakthrough. 43 is in the conceptualizing center, which is or the function, the conceptualizing function, and that's in the head, and it's pointing down towards the communication and action, the throat center. What we have here is individuality. So this uniqueness, these unique insights, these unique ideas, and sometimes these ideas and perspectives can be so unique, they can be so out there that they can be light years ahead. And this particular trait, when it reaches communication and action and it gets expressed into the world, can actually create a massive breakthroughs. You know, these ideas are just so out there. You were like, why has no one thought of this before? You know, this is a fantastically cutting edge idea that has an opportunity to revolutionize the world. One of the things to be aware of with the 43 is because it's got this individuality, this uniqueness, it operates in a pulse. So we will have this energy that's not there. So while it's not there, there's nothing. There's no insights. There's nothing coming through. There's just nothing there. And then all of a sudden, something will land like this bing, this aha that's going to pop in there. And the pressure that's going to come in at that moment is like, okay, something's just landed. This creative, unique perspective idea has just come in, and I should share that. I should tell people. I should let the world know what this is. And if that is shared or expressed into the world with the incorrect timing, what ends up happening is that it doesn't land at all. People are like, what are you talking about? That's just so bizarre. That's just so ridiculous. Who would have ever thought about that? Like, you know, put that back in the hole where that came from. So on the one side, it can come through as this most amazingly genius idea. And on the other side, it can come through as being totally freakish. Like, who are you and what planet did you come from? The key element here is timing. You want to wait for the right timing. So even if this breakthrough, if this insight drops in, it doesn't mean that the time is right for it to be shared. You know, if we want to use an analogy in terms of planting seeds, just because we have all these seeds doesn't mean that we can just plant them whenever we want. We actually need to wait for the conditions to be right. You know, the temperature, the soil, the light, the water. When all the conditions are ripe and we plant the seed in that way, what comes forward, the fruit that we get from that labor is going to be amazing. But if we drop a seed just, you know, on an ice shelf and it gets frozen and whatever, it may never go anywhere, right? So in order for these unique individual insights and breakthroughs to come across as being light years ahead and to have this potential to impact and create a massive difference, it's all around timing. The fear, because this is a conceptualizing center, so it's an awareness center, it has a fear or an anxiety attached to it. And the particular one here is of rejection. So either you look at the past, you know, when you've shared something, perhaps the timing wasn't right because you didn't understand that, and your ideas have been rejected over and over again. So then this fear or this anxiousness comes out of like, I don't want to share anything because, you know, when I share my unique perspectives, I just get shot down and everyone thinks I'm a freak and no one wants to hear from me. And so this is a way that fear of rejection can actually stop you from sharing anything. The fear also builds up, right? You get this anxiousness that builds up, like, what if, you know, when I share this, people are going to think I'm too weird or too freakish, and I better not share it just in case, right? This fear of rejection or this anxiety can also come in when you feel like, you know, what happens if no one's going to understand my idea? Because it's so far ahead, it's so light years ahead that sometimes I just can't get the message across. I just can't quite connect my message to people. I can't quite explain it in the way that I know it. And so this is another place where that anxiety, that fear of rejection is going to come up. Because part of the way that these breakthroughs and ideas and insights come through is that actually it's like they just land. They just come in almost, it can feel like they've come out of nowhere. And you just suddenly know something that you didn't know before. You don't always know how you know it, but you just know it. And the ability to be able to transfer that knowing from what you know to somebody else, there can sometimes be a disconnect with that. This feeling of like, I'm not going to quite be able to explain what I know because I don't always know how I know it, just know it. And so this anxiety or this fear of rejection can come in there where you're like, oh, what happens if I can't quite explain what I know? One of the shadows or distractions that can show up here is because this particular trait is in the mind, it's in the conceptualizing area, there's this possibility that you think that these insights or these breakthroughs are meant for you. They're meant to help you to navigate your own life, and you start ending up trying to make decisions through the mind, through the breakthroughs that come through. And you know, if you're new to this system, if this is the first video you've ever watched, then one thing you need to know is that within the BG5 system, we have a decision-making strategy, and it's never going to be the mind. The decision-making strategy is where we go to navigate our own lives. We're never going to use the mind for that. So the shadow, the distraction that shows up here is that we start trying to use these breakthroughs or insights to navigate our lives. The mind does have a function. It does have a purpose. It's great for checking knowledge, for evaluating knowledge, for sharing knowledge. But it's about, you know, bringing it in, processing it, and then sharing it outwards. It's not really designed to navigate our own personal lives, to decide what we should do with our own lives. So one thing that I would be really conscious of, you know, during this week when we're feeling this energy of the 43 is, you know, am I using these mental breakthroughs, these ideas, these individual perspectives and ideas that come through to make decisions? Because if you're doing that, then you've stepped into this shadow, into this distraction, and that's going to take you way off track. And when we look at the conceptualization center, if it's open in your design, so it's not colored in, it's not fixed, and it's not reliable, the shadow that's going to show up here is trying to be certain. And so how that can show up for you is, you know, a breakthrough comes through and then you try to convince everybody, you try to be certain that this is right and this is how things should happen and this is the way things should work. So if you find yourself kind of being, you know, really argumentative or really pushing forward your idea in a way that, like, you know, everyone needs to listen to me because I know this and I'm right, then you've stepped into the shadow here as well. So just be watching for that this week. The other things that I would ask you to pay attention to this week is where are you showing up as a genius and where are you showing up as a freak? Watching the timing, you know, when is the right time to share this great idea and when is it not? Just because you had that great idea does not mean that the timing is correct. So just be paying attention to that. Also checking in, are you working or operating from your mind, or are you navigating your life from your decision-making strategy? Also checking in, you know, what new ideas have you brought forward that bring efficiencies to the world, that really help people to do things in a new way? You know, where are these breakthrough insights having an impact on the world around you? And then checking in for that anxiety, you know, that fear of rejection. How is that showing up for you this week? Another thing that I would want to mention here is quite often when people have the 43 of breakthrough, they naturally have the 23 on the other side, which comes to the communication and action. And this is the voice, this is the expression out into the world. So quite often people have both of these together, which means that they have the breakthrough and the insights and the ability to express it. But if you don't have either of these in your chart, or you only have the 43, then during this week, just notice those breakthroughs and those insights. And perhaps you want to look for partnerships for people where, you know, they can pull the ideas from you and help with that expression piece, help to get it shared and out into the world. Because ultimately these breakthroughs and insights have the impact when they get to be expressed or shared with the world. But once again, it's all about the correct timing. So just noticing these things this week and just seeing, you know, if you're running your own business, now might be a great time to really just allow these breakthroughs to come through. You know, as I mentioned a little bit early on, this energy works in a pulse. So if you try to put pressure on an idea to come through, that's not really how it works. It's not like you push it to have the timing when it's convenient for you. The breakthroughs and the insights come through in their own timing. And so perhaps you want to just get comfortable with this, being in the space of not knowing. Like, I don't have a new idea, don't have a breakthrough. And just take a big breath and just leave that, just let that go, because when the timing is right for the insight to come through, it's going to come through. And then really checking in to see if the timing for sharing is correct as well. And sometimes you might just need to hold on to that idea for a little bit of time. And, you know, when, you know, it might be in a couple of weeks' time that the expression of that gets to come out. And that's when it's going to have its greatest impact. That's when the genius aspect of it can really come through. And it could be quite transformational in how your business is run, or the ideas that get integrated going forward into the future for you. Or it might just be a great idea to have a conversation around, but it doesn't actually go anywhere else. Or perhaps that idea helps to shift other people in your network, which has an indirect impact on you as well. So we don't always know how these breakthrough ideas are going to have an effect and bring efficiencies into the world around us. And so it's just quite fascinating to watch and to see how it shows up. So if you've got any breakthroughs or insights that come through for you during this week or in a few weeks after watching this video, I'd love to hear from you, just to see how that shows up for you in your world. There's a subscribe button that's going to pop up soon on the video. Don't forget to click subscribe. Each week I'm going to be sharing with you the energy which you can apply both into your personal, into your business life. And just watching how those things show up for you. And when we start to pay attention and we have awareness of these things, how the dynamics of our world around us seem to shift quite a lot, because we move out of the shadow and distraction and we get more centered and aligned to our design and living the uniqueness of that. I hope you have an amazing week, and I look forward to connecting with you again next week. Bye for now. My name's Lynda Gaiao.